Kimi no suizo o tabetai by Sumino Yoru, Part 21. We were seated at a horigotatsu, picking at a steaming hot pot. The taste of the specialty hot pot with no other ingredients but offal, cabbage, and garlic chives had left me, who had declared meat superior to innards, speechless. Of course, the girl was as noisy as ever. It's great to be alive! No lies in that statement, huh? I drank the soup from my own bowl, thoroughly delicious. After we had arrived at the city, we visited Uniqlo, and following which we simply wandered around aimlessly. We entered a glasses shop because she wanted to buy sunglasses, and later visited a bookshop I had spotted. It was fairly enjoyable just looking at the townscape of a land I didn't know. Later still, we chased pigeons in a park we chanced upon, and sampled the signature confections of the prefecture in a local confectionery. Time passed right by. As the darkness of night crept in, the prefecture's residents began lining up at the unusual food stalls along the street. While I was still fixated on the scene before me, we started making our way towards the hot pot establishment that had caught her eye. Since it was a weekday, or perhaps we were just lucky, we were ushered to a table in the crowded restaurant straight away. It's all thanks to me, so she bragged. But she hadn't even made a reservation or anything like that, so it absolutely wasn't thanks to her. For the most part, we didn't talk about anything of substance during our meal. She heaped praises onto the hot pot. From start to finish, as I quietly relished the food, I managed to enjoy the hot pot without saying anything pointless. When faced with delicious food, it wouldn't do to act otherwise. The next time she opened that pointless mouth of hers was when the store attendant added Chinese noodles to the soup brimming with umami. With this, the two of us are hot pot buddies too. Are you trying to make it seem like we've been living under the same roof and eating from the same pot? Even more than that, since I've never even eaten hot pot with any of my boyfriends. She tittered. The reason her way of laughing was different from usual, because alcohol had entered her system. Brazenly ordered wine despite her status as a high school girl. The waiter made no second guesses as to the excessively unabashed order, and promptly conferred a glass of white wine, even though I would have been happier had he just contacted the police. The girl, who was in an even better mood than normal, wanted to talk about herself even more than usual. It was convenient for me since I preferred to listen to what other humans had to say, as compared to speaking myself. As for how our conversation went, she started with her last boyfriend, who was apparently also my classmate. He's a super great guy. Yeah, really. I received a confession from him, and I thought that since he was a good person and a friend, it'd be fine to go out with him. So it was hard for me to understand that it wasn't like that. I mean, I've already said it quite frankly, haven't I? After we started going out, he'd get moody easily, and once we started fighting, he'd stay angry for a super long time. It'd have been fine if we were friends, but I didn't want to be with him any longer. She brought the wine to her mouth. I kept quiet, unable to empathize, and listen to what she had to say. Even Kyoko had good things to say about my ex-boyfriend, since he seemed like a refreshing boy on the surface. Doesn't seem to have anything to do with me. That's true. After all, Kyoko does avoid you. Didn't you think you'd hurt me by saying something like that? Are you hurt? I'm not hurt. I avoid her too, so we're even. Even though I want you to get along with Kyoko after I die, huh? With an expression different from how it was up till now, she looked at me straight in the eye. Evidently, it seemed like she was serious about those words. With no way out, I answered, I'll think about it. Please do, came her curt reply. Those words were spoken with an earnest conviction. My heart that had already decided that we weren't going to get along anyway wavered, if just a little. We left the restaurant once we had satisfied ourselves with the hot pot, and our faces were caressed by the pleasant night wind. Even though there were coolers installed within the restaurant, they were made largely defunct by the many hot pots simmering away inside. She had left after me since she had been footing the bill under the condition that I would definitely repay her for everything she spent on me on this trip. I agreed to leave the bills to her. Wow, feels great. It's still cooling at night, huh? Right? Okay then, guess it's about time we head to the hotel. I had heard about our place of residence from her earlier in the afternoon. It was a fairly high-grade hotel that was connected to the Shinkansen station we had arrived at, and it seemed to be well known even within the prefecture. She had actually intended on staying at a simple business hotel, but when she informed her parents about her plans, they proposed that she may as well stay at a better place, and so provided her with a subsidy. Since she had already gone that far, there was no reason not to take advantage of their kindness. It was that kind of thing. Of course, half the money her parents had forked out was meant for best friend's son, but the responsibility for that lay with her, so it wasn't my business. Having reached the station, it really wasn't long till we arrived at the hotel. No, it's not like I was casting doubt on the official information. What I had meant was that the hotel was even closer than I had expected. I had already confirmed it beforehand in the magazine she had brought along, so I wasn't overwhelmed by the luxury and elegance of the hotel's interior. If I hadn't prepared my heart, my jaw would have probably hit the ground, and so I should have been bowing my head down to her. But since even I had a grain of self-respect that wouldn't allow that, I was really glad to just act surprised on the surface. Even though I'd avoided getting blown away, I was still becoming predictably restless in this atmosphere that didn't match my own social standing. I thus let her handle the checking in, while I sat down on the refined lobby sofa and quietly waited for her. The comfort I got from sitting on the sofa felt deep and gentle. With a look that indicated she was used to this, she boldly headed for the counter, and the hotel staff all bowed their heads down as she approached. I thought, without a doubt, that she wouldn't become a decent adult, but then remembered that she simply wouldn't become an adult. While drinking tea from a clearly out-of-place PET bowl, I watched from the side as she dealt with the receptionist. The person handling her check-in was slender and had his hair combed straight back, a young man that very much gave off the air of a hotel receptionist. Just as I thought about the trouble the receptionist would have to go through, she started to fill in some form she was presented with. I didn't listen to the contents of their conversation from this point onwards, but she returned the piece of paper, and with a refined demeanor, the beaming receptionist began keying in the information into his computer, probably having confirmed the reservation. He turned back to her and began cautiously speaking. She made a surprised expression and shook her head. The receptionist's face stiffened in response as he began to operate the computer once again, all the while still speaking to her. She shook her head again, took her backpack off her shoulders, and handed over a piece of paper that she had retrieved from within. The receptionist compared the piece of paper to the computer screen and frowned before momentarily withdrawing further behind the counter. Like her, I waited around doing nothing in particular until he returned with an older man. The two of them bowed their heads to her profusely and countlessly, after which it wasn't the younger man, but his senior that made a deep, full-bodied bow of apology and began speaking to her. She made a troubled smile. I watched the situation unfold from the side, wondering if something had happened. Thinking about it normally, It would have been logical to be under the impression that there had been a mistake on the hotel side, and the reservation had been recorded erroneously. But I felt that that alone would not have explained her troubled smile. Whatever the case, I expected the hotel to properly deal with the situation, and so thought little of it. At worst, we could simply wait out the night at some net cafe. Still smiling in a troubled manner, she kept stealing glances at me, and so for no particular reason at all, I nodded back at her. There wasn't really any meaning behind that action, but after spotting my response, she said something to the two apologetic men at the counter. Right away, the faces of the two receptionists brightened up, and though they kept their heads down as always, it seemed like this time they offered her words of gratitude. The me a few minutes later was going to want to beat up the me that thought it was best their conversation had concluded. Just like I've said so many times before, I was lacking in my crisis management skills. After accepting the key and the like, she returned with her head held low once again. I looked up at her face and told her, "Seems like you had some trouble, huh?" She returned my efforts with her facial expressions. First, she pursed her lips, showing her embarrassment and apprehension. Then she picked at my expression, and finally, as if she was casting them all away, she broke into a broad grin. "Hey, so it seems like they made a little blunder. Yeah? They filled up all the rooms of the type we originally made reservations for. I see. Yep. So since it's their responsibility, it seems like they'll prepare a much better room for us than the one we had reserved. That's pretty great, huh? Hey." She dangled the single key she carried in her hand beside her face. "We'll have to share the room, but it's fine, right?" Huh? There wasn't a single sensible thing I could say in response to her smile. Well, hello everyone, I'm Angelica. Thank you so much for watching this video, or at least listening to it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you do like these episodes, please don't forget to give that thumbs up. Share some love. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell so you'll be notified whenever I uploaded a new video. Alrighty then. That's it for today. See you guys on the next episode. I'm Angelica, signing out. Bye-bye.